Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to review the first episode of Obi Wan Kenobi series on Disney+. Now then, I'm going to try to be as fair as I can to the show. There are some good points, there are some bad points, and there are also some very bad points. Considering this series took years in the making and it seems that the fans cried out for it for such a long time, it looks as though Disney has cut corners and pretty much done the least possible to satiate the fans' desire for this series. Anyhow, without much further ado, I'm going to get right into it and tell you what my thoughts are. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, leave comments down in the comments section below, and let me know what you think of this series. Cheers.
It's been 10 years.
Okay everyone, let's get into this Obi Wan Kenobi episode 1. Okay, so welcome everyone. Thank you for joining me today. Let's take a look at the new Star Wars series from Disney+, titled Obi Wan Kenobi. Now, it's no secret that this series has been very highly anticipated for years, and in fact I'm pretty sure it was a cry from the fans that this series had to be realised. Obi-Wan, or at least Ewan McGregor's version, has become very much a beloved character amongst the fans since his introduction in 1999 with Star Wars Episode 1 The Phantom Menace. So fast forward to 2022 and you have Obi-Wan the series. Make no mistake though, in my estimation, a TV show is never going to live up to its big brother the movie, with its huge budget and cinematic feel, but there's no reason you can't get very close to that feeling of watching a movie. Cinema and TV has come a hell of a long way in terms of technology. For now though, let's look at episode 1 of Obi-Wan Kenobi. I think I'll look at the positives first because there were a few good points about the pilot episode, but there were also a lot of weak points too, let's just say. Now then, there's several videos out there on how bad the show is, and that's fine. Everyone is entitled to an opinion, whether we agree or not. It's part of why I love cinema. The fact that you can argue and debate and talk about with friends and foes alike on the things you like and things that you don't. I find that exciting. Anyway, as far as the show's concerned, we open with a recap of the prequel era, focusing on the relationship between Obi-Wan and the Jedi Council, and also Anakin's fall from grace, pretty much setting the scene for the new series. We see Palpatine's influence on Anakin, the death of Padme, the children born and took into protection. We see the fight on Mustafar and the creation of the greatest villain of all time. The intro to the series was pretty damn cool, as we see a Lady Jedi trying to escort younglings to safety just as Order 66 has been executed and clone troopers storm the building. The choreography is very good here, one of the best saber battles I've seen, but ultimately she is overcome by blaster fire and she meets her demise. The kids then escape. 10 years later we arrive on Tatooine again. More sand. We see Inquisitors arrive in a big black and ominous looking ship, and they do look really rather good, which is another plus point for Disney. They begin their interrogation of the townsfolk in a bar in what is probably Mos Eisley. Now then, Rupert Friend does an awesome job as the Grand Inquisitor, even though his makeup could have been a little more like the original character, as in this show he's just got a rather fat head. This I found to be very lazy from a production point of view. They did it with Cad Bane in the Mandalorian Boba Fett show, and there's no excuse really not to get it right. For goodness sake Disney, you are so lazy. I mean, look at Gore, the God Butcher, in the upcoming Thor movie for instance. Played by Christian Bale, it just looks like an ill old man, or Marilyn Manson as some fans had it down. If you just take a little more time, care and attention to detail, you can really pull off something amazing. Anyway, the Grand Inquisitor came across as very intimidating, cold, callous, calculating. Then Shouty Girl appears and shouts her way through the entire scene. Shouty, shouty, shout.
You can't run Obi-Wan! You can't escape him! You can't run Obi-Wan! You can't run Obi-Wan!
Sorry, let's get back to the positives. Rupert Friend's performance was more than adequate. Some of the scenery, backdrops, props were very good and pretty close to what George Lucas had in the originals and the prequels, so there's no reason not to believe we are immersed in Star Wars right here. It's old, it's grimy, it fits with the world building. When Ewan McGregor turns up, we see a battered, dishevelled man, worn with time and the world he now lives in. It looks as if he's long left behind the ways of the Jedi and the Force. The performances from all concerned are largely pretty good. The performers can really only give as good as the material they are given to work with, as well as the direction on offer. On the subject of direction, it seems very hit and miss throughout the series so far. Characters' traits and actions differ from scene to scene. Especially, I've noticed Obi-Wan go from very logical, calm and thorough to snapping at young Leia for little reason at various times in the show. In other words, he really breaks character several times for no apparent reason, and it is quite jarring. We finally catch a glimpse of what all the trailers were promising, and that is the young Luke Skywalker at his uncle's farm, through the eyes of Obi-Wan keeping watch over him, and unfortunately, as is true to the Disney way, up to now that is the last we will see of him. Bearing in mind as I record this, we are on to episode 3. Very, very disappointing. Although Vivian Lyra Blair plays young Leia and actually does a very good job for a feisty 10-year-old. She seems to have an old head on her shoulders, and she seems to work her way through her script with ease. So a plethora of rusty droids, scary baddies, older Obi-Wan, sets, scenery, and even Luke Skywalker in no way makes up for the bad points within this show. Where do I begin? Firstly, there can be no real stakes at all in this show, hence there's no tension and no payoff. We already know Luke, Leia, Obi-Wan, Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru come to no harm because we see them in later iterations, so we can never expect them to be in any real danger. So whenever we see them potentially falling into harm's way, it is to no avail whatsoever. For example, Owen is threatened by Third Sister in the town square whilst they hunt for a Jedi, which I might add they let go 10 minutes earlier. Like, what the F? The show is full of inconsistencies just like this one. However, we know that Owen comes to no harm at all, obviously until he's burnt alive in episode 4. So, as with everything Disney produces nowadays, we turn to the Leia show because that's what this really is about. I don't have a huge issue with it as Leia is portrayed perfectly adequately, and it means that the heat is taken off Luke for now. But it's the disingenuous and underhanded way that Disney reverts endlessly to the bait and switch tactics in every single show it produces now. There was no mention of Leia in the trailers. It was touted, as far as I'm concerned, as a Kenobi and Luke story, with Vader thrown in for some nostalgic bullshit. Okay, now then, shall we discuss one of the most excruciatingly awful and hyper cringe inducing chase scenes ever to grace our screen in over 100 years of cinema. Yes, you guessed it folks, Leia gets abducted by some baddies, one of whom was Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. So, surrounded in the woods by 3 of the most incompetent people in the known universe, she slips past them like they were playing some pretend party game, like adults do with their kids to entertain and excite them. They run like they have shit their pants in a vain attempt to convince the audience that there is some danger involved and a sense of urgency, and it is laughable. She evades capture further by having one of the pursuers literally run into a branch and exclaim, "Ugh!" She runs under it and escapes. Absolutely pathetic. More stupidity ensues as she gives them the slip. They fall over at the slightest obstacle, they are thwarted by trees, until after the worst scene in the show, they finally put a bag over her head and bingo, they have her. Like I said, the whole thing was absolutely laughable, and it takes you right out of the show. The show does try to be serious in parts, and when it does that, it's very good. And then it reverts to this kind of Disney-esque, Disney princess shit show, for want of a better word. Now then, this is the part that really bothers me, and I can't stress enough how weak and poor the writing is here. So the premise here is to kidnap Leia. This will then lure Obi-Wan out from hiding to find the girl. Now then, and this is not trying to knock anyone on YouTube, but not one YouTube video that I watched recently on the show mentioned this. How in the hell does anyone know Leia is connected to Obi-Wan in any shape or form? It's impossible to even guess that. Even Vader didn't know about it until Return of the Jedi, and her father Bail Organa asking Obi-Wan for help didn't really sit right either. If he knew where she was heading and who took her, he would send legions of men after her immediately. But hey ho, he asks Obi-Wan. We get a half-assed explanation later on from Reva, who apparently found out in the archives that Bail served with Obi-Wan in the war. But that doesn't mean they owed each other anything or any allegiance whatsoever. They both served with hundreds of people. Why would Bail hold any special significance that would have Obi-Wan risk his life? Like I said, it bothered me at the time a lot. We also get Reva, the Inquisitor. Could have been so much more than what we got. She could have been exceptional. Cunning, cold, calculating, but no, we got shouty, insubordinate, shouty, annoying lady. She goes against everything she's asked and ordered to do and claims to want to find Kenobi at all costs, it would seem. But we get no real insight into her character or indeed her motivation for her hatred of Jedi and her obsession with Kenobi. Would it not make more sense to flash back to her fighting Obi-Wan or some other Jedi even? Maybe they take a limb or an eye even, enraging her to a point she will stop at nothing for revenge. Wanting to impress Darth Vader is not a real character trait. It's a shame really that Disney seems simply intent on having another powerful woman on screen when she could have been so much more. Very lazy writing, folks. Again, you can only work with what you have and the direction you are given, and I feel there has been a wasted opportunity here, which is a real shame for Moses Ingram, as she does seem very committed to the role at the very least. Anywho, Bail Organa asks Obi-Wan to help and he agrees very reluctantly. And so we see him board a vessel, and there the episode ends. Now there's a whole lot more to the episode than my brief ramblings, but go watch it for yourself and see what you think. I don't have the time or energy really to simply tear it to pieces for hours on end. All I can say is after seeing the episode I felt deflated once again, and just think to myself, the fandom cried out for this series for so long, and it looks as if Disney did as little as possible to satiate that call from the people who have kept this hokey religion alive for so long. Another bait and switch TV show, I'm afraid, folks. Anyway, don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more content. Please leave lots of lovely comments for me. Let me know what you thought of the episode so far. Thanks again for watching, folks, and I will see you next time.